Awakening. Awakening is a form of seeing, and that's what showed up this week. And it's a wonderful following up from what has been shared before. There are 3 particular sessions I want to focus on today that reflect that so well. And the first one is that feeling of feeling lost. And what was happening was not a sense of lost. It was a sense of having moved on. And what's very apt for the time we're in and what we're celebrating, it was a form of arising and awakening to a whole new world. Last week, we were talking about how these loops of being here over and over again, there was a point of being still in it and then create further into the unpacking of self through the experiences and how we meet life and how we think, how we feel, all of that, which energetically nourishes the world. And in being able to see this wonderful new threshold that had been reached, that sense of lost disappeared, and a sense of meeting and experiencing what is ahead, and to meet it more and more from a process of within and reflecting self, rather than labeling outside and trying to work out other, which is not your digestion. I've come to see that it's all digestion. It's just all digestion. And it doesn't matter whether something is in the ground that uses the natural bacteria in the ground to bring the nourishment up the root into the leaves that make it bioavailable for us when we eat it, and the digestion of that energy through all the realms, all the vibrational energies, and at each level a digestion appears. And then in the awakening and finding a whole new energetic field within to explore with, it comes down to how you see it. So that was exciting, that opportunity to then choose and see how it feels. And we can choose things from the past and revisit, or we can create in the future. It's all what you want to digest. There's a whole smorgasbord there for us. And that came to the session where, as has happened before, and it does blow me away, it went to an energy. And the interesting thing is, and you may find this too, on driving to work, I was listening to the radio and there was just talk going on, and then all of a sudden this music appeared, and I got a shock. I was like, and I thought to myself, what is it with my nervous system that jumped? Like, that was such a triggered reaction, the jump that I felt, that I kind of went into exploring what that jump was. And I know that, for instance, we're on the freeway or on the road or something, somebody beeps their car. I find, having discussed this with other people, we tend to think we're the ones who've done something wrong. So we tend to go, what have I done wrong? Which I think goes back to childhood, where, we were just playing, but we got something wrong. We got mud on a dress, or we broke something. And there's always like, I'm getting it wrong, or what have I done wrong this time? There's this element that triggers. And we can quickly go to that peaceful part inside that actually goes, that was a trigger, and re-establish that deep calmness of all is well. And even if it wasn't, we re-establish all is well. Yes, I moved when I shouldn't have moved, or whatever it is, and go back to the calmness. What showed up here And previously, it went to this space where the session went to the first thought. I mean, you can imagine the unity of all in the presence of becoming, and we're talking eons and eons and eons of time, very much the Steiner philosophy, where eventually from that unity a thought appeared. I mean, the pioneering of a thought appeared, and how that resonates through all the lifetimes was extraordinary. This time, it went to the first sound, the first sound. See, we're not separated from anything. There isn't anything we can't access in the unity of all. It's just we've condensed to an extent so we can have the experience through separating from other things so that we can experience this density that cannot be experienced in other densities. But this first sound had triggered a sense of crisis. The first sound was a shock that went into crisis. And that element was still living energetically here. And the behavior of that was a desire to be ahead of things, to be perfect, to be so planned that things are smooth, that sense of meeting it propelled it into wanting to be ahead of it or be onto it. And the moment something is recognized, to remedy it or feel that sense of needing to remedy it. And we actually tested up because this being is so accomplished. And the delight of the accomplishment totally gets it and explores it. But this underlying thread of crisis is there, and the joy of life disappears if crisis is the meeting of incidences because they're to be perfect so that we can have the silence again. And we tested up, what percentage are we playing with here? Yeah, how much is in this world is so accomplished and I'm so capable of being with, and what percentage is that I'm actually focusing 100% on, and that keeps me in this state of alert and crisis. It was 85% accomplished, 15%. Or 15%, come on. If we do 85% and feel comfortable in it, before you know it, it'll be 90% or whatever it is as an increasing element. And the other bit is that edge of exploring. And the calmer we are, the more interesting it is to meet whatever meets us ahead of that. And that made a lot of sense. And a calmness appeared. And a playfulness appeared rather than the work of, because it has to be perfect, because unless it's perfect, it's not silent. And that sound, which is a vibration, light and sound is the creation of things, and to meet that sound, not to make it perfect, but to be in creation with it so that it turns into play, which we've been talking about as well. Excuse me. The other I want to share with you, the other session, again, so accomplished. This continual meeting of the awesomeness that we all are. We wouldn't be here in this time if we weren't incredibly accomplished one way or another, just to be here. And what showed up here was like in I think it was last week's or the week before, this incredible looping of time after time after time, these lives lived, these layerednesses of life lived. And last time it was really okay. If that's the case, just stop. Whether it's here or here doesn't matter. It's like, stop. Now that is within, now play with it. This time it showed up differently. And this being is, I don't think I've ever met anybody more graceful and diplomatic in her living of life. But what showed up was this incredible, it's like this stone within, this magical alchemy that has arrived after all these lifetimes of so solid an inner aspect. But how that played out was that solid aspect was so deep, so profound, so all-seeing from all different angles as to what was happening. And in the seeing of it, wanted that, excuse the tings, nothing I can do about that, but in the solidness of that, in the seeing of all that was around, it then wanted to interact with it in a way so that those outside would understand what that is, would hear what that is, would be able to connect with what that is. And like we all kind of fall into sometimes, that if somebody doesn't get it, we can become a little bit forceful to get the point across. And because of the dynamics of this and the depth of that, the life was lived in this force, continuously wanting to express out there what this was in the hope that they would understand. But it came with such a force that what happens in the world, there's this pushback. Because to see something is like to digest something, must be in freedom. It's like a smorgasbord, you present it. And if they pick from bits and pieces, fine. If they have no appetite, there is no forcing. There's nothing worse than somebody forcing you to eat something. It's just awful. This was recognized. The truth of it was recognized. And experiencing that, how the pushback was created, again, was a way of seeing and digesting that makes life easier in terms of digesting self and interacting in such a way that there is no force. It isn't easy to have that many lifetimes and to see. And really at the end of the day, here we are at Easter, and you sort of go, wow, what that must have been 2,000 years ago, to see so clearly the simplicity of love one another. And then to see how people behaved. When we see, and we see those that do not see, it can become a painful experience that they do not see. And we need to find the peace in that we're where we're at. We're where we're at, and it's where others are at. And in that generosity of being able to see what they see and also what we don't see that they see. It goes both ways. In the generosity of that, we'll find our way. So, the essence that came up this week was Dog Rose of the Wild Forces. And the negative conditions are fear of losing control and hysteria, and pain with no apparent cause. The positive outcome is calm and centered in times of inner and outer turmoil, emotional balance. It says it's found only in Victoria. This essence was made up from a plant quivering and leaning over the surging white water just below the Mackenzie Falls, in Garryword, previously known as the Grampians. This plant is commonly found growing close to the water, and like dog rose and other essence, it deals with fear. It is taken when a person has a fear of losing control, when the emotions they are feeling within themselves or immediately around them are just so intense, there is a sense of losing total control. On a higher level, it helps to teach the necessity of gaining control over emotions so that emotional intensity will not distort the natural energies. How apt. The card was awakening, rousing from the inactivity of the past or having held yourself back. Now is the time to wake up. Wake up to what can be achieved and shake yourself into action. Awaken to your potential. Awaken to your love. Awaken to yourself. What a rising. Lots of love.